So just a few announcements. Next week, Ryan Strong will be leading the talk and meditation. And like usual, you're welcome to go to our website, KriyaYogaAlliance.com, for the link, the Zoom link. Kriya Yoga Alliance member Ryan Kurzak will be leading a meditation this coming May in California. And Ryan Strong and I will also be participating and leading some of the talks. We're very much looking forward to it. And it would be wonderful to see you in person. We've spent now many months meeting every Sunday. And it would be a wonderful opportunity to be able to sit with you for longer periods of time and to meet you in person. So please feel free to go to his website, KriyaYoga.com, to register for that. And we'll be making more announcements as we approach that time, but it will be in the beginning of May. So for today's talk, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about some self-care practices that you can do during the autumn season that can really help support you in your spiritual practice. Now, I live in Massachusetts, and up here, the fall, the qualities of fall are very, very strong at the moment. It's very windy, the winds have picked up, and we're at the point now where all of the leaves have changed color, and they're very dry and falling off the branches. And as we know, in Sankhya philosophy, there's this understanding that the qualities that are in all of existence, that we experience, that we are made up of, that we see in nature, is also within us. And so I'll be talking a little bit about that, the qualities of autumn, the qualities within us, how if those qualities are out of balance, they can manifest as certain symptoms within us. I'll be talking about some of those symptoms that I'm sure many of us have experienced at some point or another. And I'll also give you some suggestions on practices that you can do in your daily life before we go into meditation today. So let's just take a moment together before I begin the talk. You can close your eyes and we'll sit together for a moment just to begin. And just take a few deep breaths at your own pace. So, many of us practice Kriya Yoga, but there are some of us here today that are less familiar with what that is. So just very fundamentally, when we hear the word Kriya, it means action. And Kriya Yoga, I feel so blessed to be a Kriya Yogi because it's incredibly practical. Very practical, and it's available to everyone. So my teacher, Mr. Roy Eugene Davis, in his book to ministers and meditation teachers, he talks about Kriya Yoga. Part of Kriya Yoga, it's not only that we attend to our spiritual practices such as meditation, but we also support the physical body through physical holistic lifestyle regimes. So it's just as important to care for the physical body. And we do that through Kriya, through action. And we do that so that we can live our fully prosperous, happy, healthy, and spiritually awake lives. Patanjali, for those of you who don't know, he was a yogic philosopher, and he blessed us with the Yoga Sutra book, which gave us very specific guidelines and practices and the meanings behind those, and how to attend to ourselves as yogis. And he writes in his Yoga Sutra book, chapter 2, verse 2, that Kriya yoga practice removes all obstacles to self and God realization. That's in a nutshell. Kriya yoga practice helps us to remove any obstacles we have for God realization. And so I'd like to offer you today just a few simple self-care practices that you can use to help along the way. So there's a sister science. It's called Ayurveda. I've spoken about it before in past talks. I believe Ryan Strong has, and so has Ray. And so some of you are already very familiar with what Ayurveda is. But for those of you that are still learning about it, it is a sister science to yoga. It is one of the Vedic sciences. And Ayur means life, and Veda means knowledge of life. And Ayurvedic medicine, or Ayurveda, really focuses on caring for the physical body in very practical ways so that you can live out your dharma, your life path. It also helps to promote longevity and a good quality of life, however that can be for you as an individual, the best quality of life that you can live in the longest amount of time that you can live, to give you more opportunities to become self-realized. And with Ayurvedic medicine, so you can work with a practitioner, and there may be certain illnesses that you have where you need a practitioner to really work with you to prescribe different herbal formulas or do different types of body therapies with you to help you recover from a certain kind of illness. But there's also another aspect of Ayurveda called Dinacharya. And Dinacharya is really very self-empowering because it asks you as the individual to take action, to perform Kriya, to every single day, to do lifestyle routines, to take care of the self, the physical self, through food, through how you expend your energy through the day. And I will give you some examples, I promise. So that you can feel your best, you can feel in balance and in attune with nature. And so it helps us to connect, it helps us to remember that we are a part of nature, that we're not separate. And there are these qualities recognized in the Vedas, in the Vedic sciences, and they're described as pairs of opposites. They're called, one name of them to describe them, they're called gunas, but they're 10 pairs of opposites. And to give you a few qualities, and then we'll talk about the qualities that we see in the autumn months in the northern hemisphere. Some qualities are, for example, hot and cold. So they're opposite in their nature, and we experience both of these qualities. Another example would be the quality of heaviness and the quality of lightness, how those are opposite qualities. And you can spend some time observing these qualities within yourself and within nature. So for example, in the autumn months in the northern hemisphere, we see the quality of movement. So the winds start to pick up and change as the temperature starts to change from warm to cold. And I'm sure there's many other ways that I'm not sure, technically how it happens, but the winds pick up And so the currents of air start to change and increase, so movement increases. And that's a very big quality. That's a very big change from the warm summer months to the fall, is this quality of movement. We can describe that quality as what we call this principle called vata. Another quality would be the quality of, which I just spoke of recently, is a quality of lightness and dryness. So you just look at the leaves on the trees, they begin to lose their moisture, they become dry, and they fall off the trees. So there's this lightness. You think of the leaves floating through the air. Things become a little less substantial. There's also a change in the quality of light. So there's a shortening of light. So we go from longer days to shorter days. So that energizing quality of the sun becomes reduced. It's a more inward time. So there's a big change there. There's a big movement there from longer light to shorter light, from a more energizing type of feel in the climate to a less energizing, more inward. All the energies of the plants go down into the roots and are a bit dormant. They begin to become dormant. So we can also see qualities like that within ourselves. And they get, because we are a part of nature, we are affected by these qualities. Some of us might be more sensitive to them than others. So I don't know, I've always been this way. I don't know, maybe you can reflect on this. If you go out into a windy day, I have to cover up. Like, I like to cover my head. I need to be a little bit more covered up. So I don't know if that happens for you. Kind of like a little canary, you know, they don't like drafts. So that's something that can happen in the fall for us. We become a little bit more affected by the winds picking up. It also starts to, because there's that quality of dryness, we will see that quality affect us. It can create more dryness in our skin, for example. And so when these qualities of vata in the fall, in particular, fall and the autumn time is when this principle called vata is sort of at its height. It can create different symptoms in us if we are having difficulty attending to ourselves physically. And so some of those qualities, some of those symptoms can manifest for us as a lot of movement in the mind and in our emotions, particularly feelings of anxiety and worry. If you tune into what those emotions feel like, they have a lot of movement to them, right? They're not heavy like sadness might be. Anxiety and worry can sometimes get a little bit flared up during the autumn, just because those qualities are kind of picked up more in our climate and how what we're surrounded by. What can also happen too in terms of our digestion and elimination, because of the drying quality, we can unfortunately experience more constipation or difficulty eliminating. So some of you may notice in the summertime you have a more easeful time with that, but then the fall and winter hit and it's more difficult for you. So that's another symptom that can happen for a lot of people during this time. It can also happen in what we call the vata time of life. So just as we have the fall season, we have the fall time of life, the vata time of life, where things naturally are lighter and a little bit drier for people. And we need to attend to that more as we enter the vata time of life. And so for women, this is generally post-menopause and onward. And for men, it's about the age of 60 and onward when we reach that autumn stage of life. And another symptom, I'm just trying to think of another symptom or two, but on a physical level, those mobile, light, dry qualities of vata can manifest as stiffness and pain in our joints. So feeling less fluid and flexible, that's another thing that we can feel. And the cold dryness in our climate can sometimes make that worse. You could feel that more. Insomnia is another quality that can happen, a Vata type of quality that we can experience that will often get kicked up for some people in the fall. So insomnia, restlessness even, so difficulty even having our body be still and stable. And again, like I said, like anxiety and worry can also create more restlessness in the mind. And so why is it important for us to balance our physical body in order to support our spiritual practice? It helps with the qualities of concentration. So if you're sitting in meditation, if you can attune and attend to the qualities of Vata during the fall, it can help us to grow our level of concentration during meditation. So the movement in the mind that often happens at the beginning of meditation, it helps to slow the movement. It helps to hone our concentration, so our ability to just hold that stillness, as well as our drishti, our focus. So even though you're attending to the physical body, it can help with that spiritual practice. They're very much connected. So again, even though most of us spend our time with our daily practices, our meditation, mantra, we cannot forget supporting the physical body. It's just as important. Ultimately, there's no difference. So just to give you a couple of suggestions, a couple of things to work with. Again, going back to being very practical. The most favorite thing that I like to recommend to people, and sometimes it can be the most difficult thing, is to practice regular routines in everything that you do. And so yes, cultivate having a meditation practice at the same time each day, but extend that out to other parts of your day. So very practically, you wake at the same time each morning, preferably right before the sun comes up if you can. You go to sleep each time at the same time each evening. You have your meals at the same time. For some people, this will be very easeful, and you may already be doing this. And for some of you, it may be more difficult. Maybe you have more of a tendency of that Vata, so it's harder to adhere to a schedule. But this is really something to attend to. It makes a huge difference. It actually removes stress of the body. So if you are eating breakfast, lunch, dinner, or just lunch, dinner, depending on what's better for you, if you're eating at the same time, your organs know when to function, when to digest, and when to rest. And that actually removes some stress of the physical body when you can be more efficient in that way. And so regular routines are very stabilizing. So as I was saying, Vata has, or the autumn season has a lot of those qualities of movement. And so when you can create something that's very stabilizing and steady, the opposite quality of movement, it helps to balance. So that's one practice that you can bring in. Or if you notice, well, I do pretty well with dinner, but lunch is all over the place, that would be a place to start. Try to get your lunch within a 1 hour time frame. And snacking doesn't count. You just want very clear meals, less snacking. That's much better for your digestive fire. It's much more efficient. So regular routines are great. That also kind of reminds me of the importance in the Vata or fall, the autumn season, to take the time to slow down. Vata is very fast. Vata, like I said, responsible for movement, has that quality of movement. Vata is the principle responsible for all the movements in the body. So you think about circulation, so our heart pumping, that's a movement, of course. Our respiration, our breathing. Also, neurological impulses, so our brain telling our body to move in a certain way, or all of those things are different types of movement. And so this is because movement out in the natural world is faster right now. We want to bring in more stillness and rest. Allow yourself to rest more during these months. Go inward. It's an opportune time to do that. There is a dinacharya, a daily practice in Ayurveda called Abhyanga. And that is a self-oil massage. So if you just think about the qualities of oil, like a good quality olive oil or sesame oil, and then you warm it up. So you warm it up, you put it in a glass bottle, you warm up the oil. You can fill up your sink with warm water, for example, and just put a little bottle of oil in a warm water bath. And just prior to bathing, you can liberally apply warm oil to your body. So the qualities of oil are heavy, and then because you're warming it up, there's also that quality of warmth. And that helps to counterbalance the qualities of movement, of lightness, of dryness, and also of cold that are inherent in Vata and in the autumn time. And it doesn't have to take long. It's not a process that you need to do for many, many minutes each morning. You can do it quickly. It's better just to get the oil on your body, head to toe if you can, prior to bathing. It has a very grounding, nourishing, calming type of quality. And that way we attend to our sense of touch. It's very important to help calm ourselves, calm our body. And it's one of those things that you have to kind of commit to practicing and to do it almost every day. And it's one of those things that if you don't do it for a while, say you travel and you don't do it, you may miss it then. It's kind of like you miss it once it's gone. It's harder to notice the effects for some people right away. So you kind of have to have a little bit of faith and stick-to-itiveness. So I'm just going to talk about two more examples, two more practices that you can think about bringing in for yourself. But actually, no, I want to tell you about a story, a Vata story that I have, and then I'll talk about two more practices. So many years ago when I went on a yoga retreat to I think it was St. John, the Caribbean islands. It was in the wintertime. It was in the very late stages of Vata. And I was doing massage therapy. And the only way I could afford to go at the time was to do kind of like a work exchange. So I worked with the clients in exchange for being able to attend this week-long retreat. And it was very windy there on the island. It was, traveling a long distance. So travel itself has those Vata type of qualities. It was in the fall months. I was staying in a little hut that had a canvas top that wasn't tied down properly. So the wind would lift up the canvas roof and slap it back down. And there was also something that was smaller than a dog, but larger than a mouse that was living in the hut that would come out at night and do whatever it did. So it was all these quick little crittery type of movements at night. So because there was so much Vata, plus there was a lot of prana, a lot of vitality on the island itself, people coming and going, flying in and out, there was so much movement. I did not sleep for 3 days. I was also doing at the time, I don't do them anymore, but very advanced yoga poses up on my head and splits and everything. So it was so Vata aggravating, and I couldn't sleep. And I had to work. So I employed some Vata balancing practices. I slowed down. I took less yoga classes. I only did poses that were very grounding in nature, like sitting on the floor. Moved very slowly, and whenever I did take yoga, I even laid in a yoga pose called Shavasana, corpse pose, where you just lay down and you don't move. So I slowed myself down. I had plenty of oil since I was doing body work for people. So I went back to doing my self-massage, and I spent a lot of time just gently working on my feet to try to ground. And then I got some earplugs so that because there was nothing I could do about the roof or the critter. So I got earplugs, and then I made peace with the critter. I just let it do its thing, made sure there were no snacks available for it. And then I could feel myself starting to calm and slow down. And finally, after the third night, I was able to sleep. So it's really important. It can make a difference if you know what to do. And so there's just two more examples I'd like to offer you. Speaking of asana, or gentle yoga postures that you can use, just doing gentle stretches where you're sitting on the ground and you do a gentle forward bend towards your toes. That's a very calming yoga asana for your system. Shavasana, so laying in corpse pose on your back, not moving for several minutes, very calming, not falling asleep, but being very still can also be helpful. And then for food, in general, right now, you want to use foods that are warm, because Vata has a quality of coldness. You want to use warm foods that are well spiced, that are kind of soupy or watering quality, so more soups and stews right now. That will help alleviate the dryness of the season. And also you want to have a fair amount of good quality oils in your diet. So that would be organic, unrefined, cold-pressed olive oil, ghee or clarified butter, or regular butter. Those are all really good choices to use for good quality oils. One example of a simple recipe that you can do is simply take a sweet potato, a yam, and you bake that. So in the skin, you just put it in the oven and you bake it at 350 until it's tender. They take a while to cook, so 45 minutes or even longer. The best way to tell when that's done is you just simply pierce it with a fork, and if it's very soft as you're piercing it, then you know that it's done. And then you cut open the skin, you add plenty of ghee or butter to it, a little bit of salt. You can add some lime juice. You can add a little bit of turmeric and black pepper to that. That's a very nourishing, grounding, easy to digest food. That's great for the fall, and it's very abundant, right, during the fall months as well. So just thinking about these practices, regular routines, as much as you can. You want to hydrate as well. Go inward more, take some more time to rest during the fall months. Doing the self-oil massage. If you haven't already done it and you're feeling adventurous, definitely do that. Having more warm, soupy, well-spiced foods, and again, bringing in some more gentle, seated yoga asana stretches, practices. That's also really helpful. So with our Kriya, with our actions, hopefully you'll feel compelled to bring some of these practices in for yourself, to add them to the Kriyas that you're already practicing. So let's move into meditation, and just take a comfortable seat. If you're seated in a chair, you want to plant your feet firmly onto the ground. And close your eyes. And keep your spine straight. And take a moment to tune into your body. Allow any areas of your body that may feel stiff or held to soften. Allow the muscles of your face to soften and grow heavy. Allow your neck and shoulders to soften, release any tension. And just breathing normally. Allow your chest and abdomen to move freely. Soften your abdomen. Release any tension in your arms or hands. Allow the bones of your legs to be firmly rooted in your hip bones. Release the tension of your thighs and calves and feet. Let's take a moment to honor Maha Avatar Babaji, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Sri Yukteswar, Paramhansa Yogananda, Mr. Roy Eugene Davis, and all of their successors in the Kriya Yoga tradition. Let us acknowledge all enlightenment traditions. Let us take this moment to meditate together. To attune to the primordial sound of Om. And let us chant Om, inhaling deeply. Om. take a moment to bring your awareness to the very base of your spine. And there we have a seed sound, Bija mantra, L-U-M, lum. If you feel a restlessness in your body or a restlessness in your mind, you can use this simple mantra to help center and root yourself. Lum, 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 lum. You may bring in, excuse me, you may bring in any techniques that you normally practice at this time. If you don't have any specific practices, you can bring your awareness to the center of your forehead, just between your eyebrows. Meditate on Om. If you notice your thoughts moving, gently bring your gaze with your eyes closed, your drishti, back to the center point just above your eyebrows. Return to the internal chant of Om. Bring your awareness to the higher brain centers, the top of the head. Allow yourself to attune to the infinite of all that is. Tat Twam Asi. You are that. Let's take a moment to consider the people around us, our family, our friends, our community, the communities around us. Let's take a moment to even consider those we may find or feel difficulty with. Let's imagine them uplifted, supported, happy and healthy and prosperous, just as you are. Extend that outward to everyone and also to yourself and each other. And we'll close meditation with one Om. You're welcome to join, inhaling deeply. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om. Peace, peace, peace. Thank you, everyone. Hope to see you next week.